In this week's channel message from the angels, they are helping us to see something very important about ourselves that it's been very hard for us to see. And knowing this about ourselves is a super important part about how we will learn to work with our energy in our new reality. So welcome back to my channel, you guys. I am so glad you are here for this message. I think you are going to love it. It is a deep one, a deep thinker, and it gives us some really, really awesome action steps, some very positive things we can do to make a difference in our own belief systems and the way that we're working with our creative energy right away. So welcome to my channel. If you are new here, I'm glad you're here. My name is Ann Tucker. I am a trance channel. I channel from the angelic realm. I do that by going into a deep meditative state or trance. And from that trance state, I raise my awareness up as high as I can go. And then I stretch a little higher and I connect. And messages, information, and healing come through. And I share it here with you guys on YouTube. So, and as I said, today's message is, it's beautiful and poetic as the angels are, and they lay it out, I think, very clearly. And I will give you a little breakdown before I read the message. So my format is I will go through an overview of what the message is about, and please use your own discernment in that overview. Understand that this is my interpretation. I am guided by the angels of my interpretation, but I don't always see everything, and frequently you guys will see things that I missed. So please use your own discernment. And if you realize that there's words I passed over that have multiple meanings or different interpretations, yeah, please share it in the comments and share it with all of us. It's really helpful. So I'll break it down. I will share the original channeling, and then afterwards I break it down paragraph by paragraph, and we go into it in more depth. And I find that doing that really helps to bring home the message. So before we dig in, I wanted to just let you guys know, if you love listening to the angels and if these messages are helpful to you, and if you are more of a listener, if you want to hear it on the road or when you're driving, we are now available as a podcast as well. And it's just under my name. It's under Ann Tucker, wherever you find your podcasts. So anyways, I hope that will be useful to you. If you like the podcast, I would love it if you would give it a positive review wherever you listen to your podcast, whether that be, Apple or Spotify or wherever you go. So, all right. Hope you guys enjoy the message. So, this week's message is about how we are architected as creative beings, and the fact that part of us as a human body has been vilified. We've been told that there's a part of our energetic anatomy that is bad. And this is in many types of religious thought, like many traditions, religious traditions. So think about the thing that really came to mind for me as I was looking and reading at the message this morning was the whole Adam and Eve story and how they are living in paradise. And I know there's a billion different interpretations of that story. So I am not in any way a biblical scholar, but just on the surface, I think many of them share a common teaching, which is that there's the snake, right? The snake comes in and tempts them, and then they eat the apple. And Eve is the one that eats the apple. And so snakes generally, like most people, like there's a lot of people who have a real fear of snakes that are deathly afraid of snakes. There's a few people out there who think snakes are lovely, but there's a lot of people who think of snakes as potentially, poisonous or dangerous. And then eating the apple, right? Temptation, particularly after in that story, they're told, don't go near, you can stay here, just don't go near the tree. And, don't eat the apples. And then they go and do it. And it's Eve who's supposed to eat the apple in the story. And the snake tempts her. So many of these traditions will interpret the story as saying that there is an aspect of humanity that is negative, right? That is the temptation that leads us from the true path, that it is the dark part of our nature. And then the second image that popped into my mind was cartoons when I was a little kid. And there's the cartoon with, I think it was like Tom and Jerry, probably Tom and Jerry. And in it, there's like two angels, a light angel and a dark angel on the shoulders of what might have been on Jerry. I'm not sure which one it was, but there was these two angels. One was supposed to be like their good conscious, and then they're the negative consciousness that they had inside of them. And the good angel, which is supposed to be like inside of them, saying like, you should be kind to the little mouse, and then the other one's like, no, hit him with the frying pan, right? Like this the battle between our light and dark aspect of our nature. So this concept that we are made of both good and bad, that humanity has this part of ourselves that we have to get away from, is literally fed to us from a very early age, and has been fed to us for generations and generations and generations. And I think it's also part of like this whole concept of healing, that we talk about the shadow, and we talk about the parts of ourselves that we are trying to get away from. And so many of you are familiar with the term spiritual bypassing, which is where we just try to we stretch for a higher vibration without going into the darkness, without going into what the wounding is, and we just try to feel good, and we know that we're meant to feel those feelings and bring them up and process them so that we become brighter. We don't have to stretch to the good feelings. We get there by going through, not around. But there's this idea that we are in resistance to what's there. So there's layers to this idea that we have something inside of us that is yucky, right? And that the shadow or the shade, or even if you look in our society, because what we are on the inside is then reflected in our outer world. So we look at the outer world of society, and we would say that in our society, we have the good guys and the bad guys. We have those people who, who are irredeemable or whatever they are, right? The people who, and that would be maybe one way of thinking, that there would be people who are, criminals who hurt people, there are some very evil characters in human history that we would consider evil. And so if it is out in our outer world, it means it's also part of us. So somewhere inside each of us, there is that aspect of what we would consider darkness. So how do we deal with that? And this message is about that. It's about this idea that we have as a society, as a humanity as a whole, not just a society, because this goes way beyond one country or culture or another. It gets to the human collective consciousness of how we think about ourselves as creators. And what they're saying in this message is that we put a boundary up, and we put resistance up within us against what we would consider to be negative or dark energies. And they're saying that energy, which we would consider feeds the darkness, they're saying that energy is not dark. It is neutral energy. It's creative potential, creative power. So it's all about what we do with it. So this is the message for today. So let's go ahead and dive in if you guys are ready.
Beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Beings of light, we return to you now to share what is consciously aware within yourselves, to share with you how the soul as itself is evolving within you. There is at the core of you now a counterpart, a second half, a new becoming, and it sprouts into the new beginning. It finds itself where you are and sinks into the depth of your own poison, of that which has hailed your karmic existence. It sinks into the very specter of what you wish to reveal and create from the existences of your past lives, of that which was formative in this term of creation. These parts of you, though forsaken, announce themselves at a constant pace into your reality and become the brewing of what is their reflection outward. And the new aspect of you which holds itself entombed until such time as the new forces are held at bay no more. They feed upon this darkness which has plagued you. They use this as the substance of their own energetic boost, a sense of recovering you, of drawing you forward into the light, of bringing you forward into a brighter day. The sense of yourself in hardship has been long and enduring. That which you've suffered has waylaid many plans and created struggles. And we say that these temperances upon your brightness shall not come further beyond this period of karmic existence. They shall be left behind, but they contain the fodder of new beginnings. Therein lies the powerful substance of creative force. For within the shade of your own orchestrations, you have preparative energies, the basis of all things in creation. You are the creator, and from within the mix of your own inner turmoil, you create what is lack, what is suffering. But this potent brewing need not express such hazardous and difficult lessons. It may instead be used for the expressiveness of what brightness lay inside you. The higher aspect of your soul, which you were created with in this incarnation, is an expression of humanity which has never evolved before. In all other incarnations, you have been born with only one expression of your soul within. However, these times are straddling two worlds, one in which you exist within the karmic realm, and one within which you become a greater aspect of your soul. And this second becoming need now be transported into the very form that you occupy at birth. You have incarnated as a vessel of two separated and yet united experiences of self. One of these shall resume its rightful place as the experiencer upon the resumption of all that is universal in the field of the earth, upon the embracing of the illuminative force that comes to empower you. You shall resolve upon this higher aspect of you. How shall it grow now? What shall feed it? How shall it occupy its own space and the spectacle it is becoming? We say that the very constancy of the human vibration contains the necessary ingredients for its own sustenance. It grows from within you from the very same deluge of what you would consider negativity. However, we see it not as this. It is not merely the source of what is karmic existence. The shadow you contain is a neutral energy which can be utilized for the creation of anything that moves through your conscious awareness. And it is up to you how you harness the very blessings that you've been given. The trust you have laid upon the shores of tomorrow will remunerate what is inside you as it evolves from within. You shall find purchase upon the horizons that are coming to meet you, and the sustenance shall be formed from within the shadow that you contain. The shadow is an energy of neutral positivity, of creative force, of abundant opportunity. It is what empowers you as a creator. It is the force of life through which you create. It is potential and potential energy, which can be embraced and molded by the conscious self and the subconscious means by which you envelop and contain yourself. This barrier between you and what lay within has been an understanding of self as one that must escape the shade or shadow within you. But it is not a barrier that we condone. We wish to give you the understanding of how you are made and what you were created for. The shadow within you is the potency of what forms your reality when passed through you as a conscious being. And shall you turn yourself toward the new vibrations which will encompass this earth, the very same substance which created your karmic bondage shall be turned to serve your higher goal of manifesting a reality based in peace and self-expression. We say to reduce the friction of this exchange of purpose, no longer consider the self as one of two halves separated by a boundary of resistance against what you perceive to be your darkest hour. Instead, resolve upon all parts of you as necessary and integrated, and understand that the experience you have been having has been one of purpose, and all parts have been needed, and you have grown from the soil what was fit for purpose. But the soil is neutral and may grow from within you the new consciousness that feels no need for such barriers, that has the understanding of what is within you and which shall define itself in the new reality as what is humanity in the fullest construct of self-knowledge as a creative being. Thus, we encourage you to lay down your thoughts of self where darkness or shadow must be expunged, revealed for expellation. We say to have the understanding that all parts of your soul and self, all part is what is physical, is made up of all parts of you. And you are without boundaries in the new reality. You have not the division within you between what is health and what is unwellness, what is light and what is dark. You have a sense of your soul as one in fluidity who uses the full seasons of its own creative self to structure a reality of blessings, to understand that the winter begets the spring, and you shall grow into a fuller concept of the human as these boundary thoughts are revealed and released. And so let's go ahead and break down the message. So we have this concept as about this light and dark. Like I love your suggestion here about the Indian proverb that there's a good wolf and a bad wolf battling inside us, and the one that you feed is the one that wins. I think that's perfect. That's a perfect illustration of what we've been taught, and that we are in a moral battle against ourself is, I think, so much what we're told, even down to, it's like, can you resist eating the cookie when you're not supposed to eat the cookie? Like it's willpower. We see it as this battle against this less disciplined, less moral part of ourselves. And in this message, I think the most important thing they're trying to tell us is that there is no part of us that's bad. That we are and they talked about this. The angels talked about this once before, or a couple times before. I think it first came out in one of our peace bathing sessions, which is our monthly healing sessions that we do, and they talked about the shadow and the shade and how it was this incredible source of power, and they're illustrating that here, saying that this aspect of us, what we would think of if we were the seasons, we would say this is our winter. It is not a darkness, it is a neutral energy that then manifests whatever is in our consciousness. So if we are at a lower frequency, if our energy is vibrating in such a way that the band of reality we're living within has some really positive expressions and some really negative expressions, that potential energy is going to grow out into negative things, right? We're going to create hardships and murder and all kinds of bad things because it's part of the band of consciousness we're living within. It's part of the reality that we're currently exploring. And so, but it's not us that's to blame. We're not inherently bad. There's no pool of evil inside of us that we have to resist or struggle or fight against. And the thing is, I know that talking with this community, that we have all been on a spiritual path, and many of us are very attuned to judgmentalism and try very hard not to be judgmental and to see the divine in everything. But these sort of cultural norms they're creepers. They creep into our subconscious, right? It's like even if we don't think we think that way, it's like, here's a crazy a moment for me where I had an awareness come in. So I grew up in California, which was very progressive. I grew up in the 70s in California, and I would have thought that I was, my parents were, very, whatever you call it, liberal in their ideas about, like my mom did Lamaze back when Lamaze was not, not seen as good, and I always felt like I had been told that I could do anything or be anything. I felt like I was supported, that I could go into the world and become what I wanted to become. So when I went to college and I had to take a gender studies class, it was one of like a required class that I had to take. And the teacher was awesome. I loved her. She was really cool. And one day she asked us this question. She told us this little story about, there's a man and his son are in a car accident and they're brought into the hospital, and the doctor walks in and she says, I can't work on this person. It's my son. The doctor says, I can't work on this person. It's my son. Who is the doctor? And like, you may hear that and it's like super obvious. And I may have given it away in how I told the story because I wasn't thinking. But they use gender neutral pronouns, and that gives it away right there, is that obviously it was the mom. But when I heard that story when I was in college, I couldn't figure it out. It stumped me. And when like a few minutes later she revealed that it was the mom, I was shocked that I hadn't immediately assumed that it was the mother. Because if the dad's dad's in there too, it's got to be the mom, right? But at that time, I would have thought I was completely immune from any kind of sexism. And then boom, it hit me in the face. This cultural perception that most doctors at the time, this is not really true anymore, at the time most doctors were males, that it was so firmly in my subconscious that I did not even see it. And like I said, I would have thought that no way, I wasn't raised that way. My parents weren't that way, but the culture was. And it infiltrated my mind, and there it was, blocking my thoughts, and I didn't even know it. So I think that is one of the reasons why the angels are talking about this today, is they're not saying that we believe this. They're not even saying that we, if someone asked you, do you have evil inside you? You may say, no, I know that I don't. But we all watched Tom and Jerry and we saw the good angel and the dark angel on the shoulders, right? We've all heard the Adam and Eve story. We all know these cultural stories that are so real in terms of how humanity has understood itself for years and years and years and years. And that infiltrates our awareness one way or another. So the what they're trying to tell us here is that we have this concept, culturally or otherwise, and we think about how we express it in society, how we separate people who make mistakes in our world, we separate them from the rest of the world, right? There are some cultures that are, and given these are, small communities, that are more indigenous cultures, that, like, I love the story that there is an indigenous culture that when someone in their community does something wrong, they don't separate them from the community. They put them in the center and they surround them by the community. And they sing that person's soul song that each person that is born is given, or is, there's a person, an elder in the community who listens for that person's soul song. And whenever they do something that's not productive for the community, or that hurts the community or anyone in the community, they put them in the circle surrounded by the community and they remind them of who they are, right? They sing to them. They don't isolate them or push them away. So, but most cultures in the world, we isolate our wrongdoers, right? We put them away from everybody else. We create a boundary between us and them. And it's such a boundary that, woe to the community that has a prison in their backyard, right? Nobody wants to be near it. We want to pretend it doesn't exist, lock them away. And that's what we do inside of us. Because we see it on the outside, that means we do it on the inside. What we manifest in reality is how we treat ourselves on the inside. So if it's happening out there, it's happening in here too. So this is super important as we go into this elevation of our consciousness, because what the angels are telling us in this message is that when we go through the shift in consciousness, we become incredibly fluid. The goal of the new reality, like whereas right now our experience is one of living separation, of understanding ourself as separated from the whole, we move into unity consciousness. And we are no longer living a karmic experience. We are living a more dharmic experience, which means that we live in the now moment, we respond in the moment, and we experience all that is in the moment. And as part of that, what our goal is to learn about ourselves, rather than learning about ourselves through karma, by seeing ourselves unconsciously reflected in our outer world, we begin to work with our world in a conscious way, and we learn about ourselves as creators. So the only way we can do that is if we acknowledge where the source of our power is coming from. And what the message is telling us is that it comes from our shadow. It comes from the winter inside of us. It's soil. It's literally like the earth. It's the soil, and it's not evil. It is neutral, powerful energy. It's like gas in your gas tank. Gas in your gas tank doesn't make you speed, right? Just because you have gas in the gas tank doesn't mean you're going to break the speed limit. You could if you wanted to, right? But it just gives you power to do what you want. It gives you energy. And that's the source. That's the soil. So that is what the message is telling us. And it is, like I said, I think it's more important. It would be easy for us to say, oh, yeah, I got this. Just like I did when I was in college. Yeah, I don't. You're talking to the choir. I'm the most, empowered female, raw, go me. Nope. No, right? I was holding belief patterns that I did not see. And I think we all are to some degree. I think it would be impossible to be alive in this day and age and not have some layer inside of us that holds this belief system, right? Or something related to it. So I think that's why we have to be conscious. We have to look at this consciously and say, okay, assume we have it, and then try to consciously overcome it. Okay, you guys, so let's go ahead and break down the message. and talk it through. And then we can talk about, to your point, a great question was, how do we put this into practice? Okay. So, first paragraph, they say, beings of light, we return to you now to share what is consciously aware within yourselves, to share with you how the soul as itself is evolving within you. And so they're saying, what is consciously aware? They're saying that that you know how they told us before that there is literally, when we were born in this life, and they say it later in the message, when we were born, this is the only time in human history this has happened. We were born with two aspects of our soul inside of us. One aspect that is currently on deck, which is working in this karmic construct, which is kind of like this band of emotion and vibration, which is right about here, right? Let's just say here, just out of illustration. And we have a second self, which is ready for the new reality, which is actually operating in this band of vibration, but it is dormant inside of us, and it'll stay dormant until the flash of light gives it, that changes the earth enough that it becomes possible for that self to kind of blossom from inside of us. And it's not that we're not going to feel like we've been taken over or that we've lost any. It'll be like it would be the same you, same memory, same personality, but it is going to be like a band of emotion. Think of this. Think of like having your worst day and your best day, and how you behave differently and those two extremes of our current band of frequency. So if you imagine that our band just takes a step higher and you no longer have some of those dark, heavy energies, and instead you have access to a new higher bandwidth of vibrations that we cannot yet attune to. So still you, just like it's still you when you're having a bad day, it's just you in a different vibration. And now we'll have access to a whole higher set of vibrations. So they're saying that higher self is consciously aware. It's participating in the experience. It's not primary. It's not forward in this experience. Our karmic self, our 3D self, is the one that's in charge right now. And it is, they say, to share with you how the soul as itself is evolving within you. So they're telling us that aspect of us is evolving. There is at the core of you now a counterpart, a second half, a new becoming. And it sprouts into the new beginning. It finds itself where you are and sinks into the depth of your own poison, of that which hailed your karmic existence. Isn't that interesting, the way that they say that? Because I think it throws us off guard. We're like, what? I have something inside of me that's got, that's sinking into poison? Like, it sounds awful. But they're playing with us here. They're calling it poison because that is how we think of it, right? That we label it poison. And that's so interesting because poison, like, think of what poison is. It's an external influence that is detrimental or hurtful or harmful, like something you would take in from the outside. So we think of like external influences and things like that it's depth of your own poison. What's going to take the beautiful, shiny, bright of you, that dark side of you that's going to infiltrate and corrupt the goodness inside of you. That's kind of what they're playing on. Of that which has, and then they also name it that which has hailed your karmic existence. So it is the place that or the energy that's currently being used because it's creative power to create a karmic world around us. They go on to say, next paragraph, it sinks into the very specter of what you wish to reveal and create from. So here, specter is like that. It's like, what is daunting and terrible and scary, and of what you wish. So this, I would say, would be your higher self. But when you created your life plan, what did you want to experience when you came here? So this second aspect, this higher aspect of you, it sinks into the very specter of what you wish to reveal and create from. The existences of your past lives, of that which was formative in this term of creation. These parts of you, though forsaken, announce themselves at a constant pace into your reality and become the brewing of what is their reflection outward. So they're saying here what we all know very well, which is that we are creating our reality. And they're saying that it's coming from this reservoir of potential energy we have inside of us, which they're telling us later in the message is neutral. But here they're still playing with us that we have been culturally influenced to think that it is negative, right? To think of it as bad. And so, and it is the source that does, and part of it we would think of it as negative, but it is the source that fuels our karma because it's creative energy and we have been living in a karmic world. So whatever it is that we want to create, it creates. So it is the source of our karma at the moment, the energy that fuels our karma. So they go on to say, next paragraph, And the new aspect of you, which holds itself entombed until such time as the new forces are held at bay no more, they feed upon this darkness which has plagued you. So see how they're playing with us here. They're really playing into these belief systems. It's plagued you. It's feeding, but it's feeding off of this horrible stuff. Like, oh my gosh. And they use the word entombed. I think that's a carefully selected word in saying that this part of us is not yet in control in any way. That the two parts of ourselves will not express at the same time. That it will be one or the other. And I think that's an important thing to know, that it's not going to be a thing where we're kind of between the two. It's going to be, we move from one state of being to the other state of being. So they feed upon this darkness which has plagued you. They use this as the substance of their own energetic boost, a sense of recovering. Here they bring it around, a sense of recovering you, of drawing you forward into the light, of bringing you forward into a brighter day. So they've been playing with us up until now, saying like, oh, you know that poison, you know that horrible stuff about yourself that you hate? It is bringing you into the light. All right, next paragraph. They say the sense of yourself in hardship has been long and enduring. That which you've suffered has waylaid many plans and created struggles. And we say that these temperances upon your brightness shall not come further beyond this period of karmic existence. And a temperance is things that have moderated your brightness or dimmed your brightness. Temperances upon your brightness. These shall not come beyond this period of karmic existence. So they've told us many times we will be leaving. When the flash of light comes, we will leave our karma behind. Woohoo! Wait, great news, right? But they contain the fodder of new beginnings. So here again, they're trying to draw the distinction between our karma and the energy that is feeding the karma. Because the energy, so they contain the fodder, the food of new beginnings. Therein lies the powerful substance of creative force. So what feeds it? What is the food? It is this powerful substance. So what is inside of it? The food, which is the powerful substance of creative force. For within the shade of your own orchestrations, you have preparative energies, the basis of all things in creation. You are the creator. And from within the mix of your own inner turmoil, you create what is lack, what is suffering. But this potent brewing need not express such hazardous and difficult lessons. It may instead be used for the expressiveness of what brightness lay inside you. So here there's this paragraph, they're saying, yep, right now we are using all that power to create hardship and suffering and karma so that we can understand ourselves in that context. There's nothing like the obstacles of our life to help us see the ways in which we judge and hold ourselves back, right? That's what we've been all about. And so we've been using it to create this experience of hardship. But they're saying, but we can also use it in a really different way. We can use it to create something really beautiful for our new reality. Next paragraph, the higher aspect of your soul, which you were created with in this incarnation, is an expression of humanity which has never evolved before. So first time, they've said multiple times, first time this has ever happened that we've been born with these two different frequencies. Then they say, in all other incarnations, you have been born with only one expression of your soul within. However, these times are straddling two worlds, one in which you exist within the karmic realm, and one within which you become a greater aspect of your soul. I love that part. It's so clear, and so it just so helps us to understand the crazy times that we are in, right? And how there is no books that are going to tell us how to go through this time because this never happened before. Next paragraph, and this second becoming need now be transported into the very form that you occupy at birth. You have incarnated as a vessel of two separated and yet united experiences of self. One of these shall resume its rightful place as the experiencer upon the resumption of all that is universal in the field of the earth. So let's break that down a little bit. So in other words, these two aspects of self, they express through one body. So we can only express one at a time. So the second becoming will then be transported forward, right? Into the very form that we came in with birth, into the same body is what they're saying here. So one body, two selves, and the second self will come forward in this same body that we were born with. And then they say, you have incarnated as a vessel of two separated yet united experiences of self. In other words, it's not like we become a different personality, same you, same memories, just higher frequency. And then they say, one of these shall resume its rightful place as the experiencer, in other words, comes to the forefront, becomes the conscious self that is living the life, right, upon the resumption of all that is universal in the field of the earth. So what that would mean, what is universal in the field of the earth? For something to be universal, it means it includes everything. So that, to me, I read that as oneness. When something is universal, it means it's all inclusive. So they're talking here about the new state of consciousness we're moving into, which is oneness, universal inclusion. So in the field of the earth, the earth is moving into oneness. Upon the embracing of the illuminative force that comes to empower you, right? So that is the flash of light. Upon the illuminative force, which is coming, the flash of light, as you guys know, is an energy, a solar energy that's coming to the planet that has not come yet, that the angels say will be the moment we look back on and say that everything changed, that it will be unmistakable, a powerful energy coming from, and I don't know which sun, but it is the sun that created, it's the origin of souls. So, which is a combination between a sun and the mother of creation, which were both created by God. Those people who are like, you're just making up mumbo jumbo to talk about God. No, I'm not. Like, there's God. And then God created, these, like, it still has to come through something, right? Just like when you give birth, God doesn't go, boom, a baby. Like, the baby has to come through your body. At least if you're, both from both, men and women. God creates through us. And God is my word. Please use your word. So anyways, so the flash of light has come, and I know I just said like a bundle of things there in one breath, and I could talk about that for like an entire hour, but I want to be respectful of your time, and I have talked about it in more length in other videos in some of the recent weeks. So here we are. Upon the embracing of the illuminative force that comes to empower you, you shall resolve upon this higher aspect of you. So when the flash of light comes, this higher self inside of us, it's not our higher self, but this higher frequency self will emerge and come forward. Then they say, okay, how? How is that going to happen? How is it currently growing? They say it's evolving now. How shall it grow now, they ask. What shall feed it? So what's its source of energy? How shall it occupy its own space and the spectacle of its becoming? The spectacle it is becoming. We say that the very constancy of the human vibration contains the necessary ingredients for its own sustenance. So constancy. So where does it get its energy? What is constant about humanity? Not a lot. Because they've told us that we are the frequency of change. We literally walk into a room and the room changes. In every moment, every cell in our body is changing, that we are constantly being renewed. I read somewhere that it's a very short period of time that every cell in your body is renewed, right? That you're constantly renewing yourself. So there is not much about humanity that is not constantly changing. As a matter of fact, that's what we're supposed to live in the now, that in every moment we have transformed into something new. So what is the one thing that is constant inside of us? And that would be our divinity, our eternal self, right? That is the one constant, is that we are our eternal higher selves. So it is the constancy, which is our eternal divinity, a divine spark of the spark of the divine inside of us. So the divine spark of the human vibration contains the necessary ingredients for its own sustenance. So the growth, they're being very clear here, saying that this soil, this shadow, this shade is divine. It's coming from God. From, again, my word, please use yours. But it is the energy of the divine that is the sustenance, that is the food for what is growing inside of us. It grows from within you from the very same deluge of what you would consider negativity. And I love that they use the word deluge, because they're talking about God's energy. And they're saying flood, inundate with great quantities, right? You are boundless. How much of this energy do you have inside of you? You have a deluge of it. You are filled to the brim, overflowing with this beautiful creative power. That's how much you have, like more than you could ever use in a lifetime, an abundance of it. And there's no shortage, right, at all. But we might, in some cases, think of it as negative. Yeah, next paragraph. However, we see it not as this. The angels don't see it as this. It is not merely the source of what is karmic existence. The shadow you contain is a neutral energy, which can be utilized for the creation of anything that moves through your conscious awareness. And it is up to you how you harness the very blessings that you've been given. So love that it is a blessing. That to be the spark of the divine is an incredible blessing. To be made, we all hear that all the time, that we're made in the image of the divine. And that means that we are the spark of the divine, that we are creators, just like the divine is a creator. So, and it's up to us what we do with it. Going on, next paragraph. The trust that you have laid upon the shores of tomorrow will remunerate what is inside you as it evolves from within. You shall find purchase upon the horizons that are coming to meet you. So this is an interesting play of words again. So to remunerate means to pay. So think about that. So the trust you have laid upon the shores of tomorrow will remunerate what is inside you. So what is inside us is our karma. And a karma is a debt that needs to be paid. So to say it will remunerate, our trust, by leaning into our trust, our faith in this new becoming, we release our karma. That is what they're saying here. That the trust we have laid upon the shores of tomorrow, when we allow and let go what is, we are releasing our karma. So that trust, which comes from us, we are creating it, pays or remunerates what is inside us, which is our karma, as it evolves from within. Beautiful, right? And so the karma evolves. We're releasing it. It evolves into a new state of being. You shall find purchase upon the horizons that are coming to meet you, right? Beautiful. Again, another play on the words, on karma, debt, all that we will find purchase. So we will find that we will own it. We will have bought it. We will have paid it when we get to the new reality. We will have let go of our karma. Next, and then they go on to say, and the sustenance, which is sustain, how do we sustain ourselves, or what is food? The sustenance shall be formed from within the shadow that you contain. So what is it that gives us the power, the strength to let go of our karma? It's this reservoir, this well of divine energy, which is our shadow inside of us. Yeah. The shadow is an energy of neutral positivity, of creative force, of abundant opportunity. It is what empowers you as a creator. It is the life force through which you create. It is potential and potential energy which can be embraced and molded by the conscious self, and the subconscious means by which you envelop and contain yourself. So it really is, even when we say the word shadow and shade, we think about, boy, I have to heal my shadow. It's not the shadow that we're trying to heal. The shadow is actually neutral, positive energy. We have to heal our beliefs and our emotions, right? Our wounding that our shadow is creating through. So this really will take some unraveling inside of us, I think, in terms of our beliefs and the ways we think about how we're architected. All right. Next paragraph, they say, and I wrote in the note here, it's from the same source we're creating it. Yeah, it's the karma. And so in other words, with that neutral energy, we could create karma, or we could create a beautiful, abundant world. It's up to us. Next paragraph, and I highlighted this one. I think this one really sums it up beautifully. This barrier between you and what lay within has been an understanding of self as one that must escape the shade or shadow within you. But it is not a barrier that we condone. We wish to give you the understanding of how you are made and what you are created for. The shadow within you is the potency of what forms your reality when passed through you as a conscious being. And shall you turn yourself toward the new vibrations, which will encompass the earth, the very same substance which created your karmic bondage shall be turned to serve your higher goal of manifesting a reality based in peace and self-expression. So I love that paragraph. To me, I think it's a pretty clear paragraph, but just in sum, it is that idea that we have this idea that we have to form a barrier between ourselves and our shadow, that it's negative, and they're saying, nope, it is that all we have to do is turn that energy and understand. The more we embrace that energy, and that's a big part of moving into the higher state of consciousness, we need to learn to work with it and to move through it fluidly so that we can create a brighter reality and not make it negative or bad in our belief system. Yeah. Next paragraph. We say to reduce the friction of this exchange of purpose. So how do we do it? One of you asked, how do we do it? No longer consider the self as one of two halves, separated by a boundary of resistance against what you perceive to be your darkest hour. So this is one sentence, and I know it's one of the hardest things that we set out to do. But they're telling us exactly what we have to do is no longer consider ourselves as one of two halves, separated by a boundary of resistance, right, against what you perceive to be your darkest hour. So our goal at this moment, at this time in humanity's evolution, is to find the resistance inside of us. What are you resisting? And this could be literally anything in yourself or outside of yourself. Where do you encounter anything, inside or outside, that you find yourself resisting in one way or another? That you find yourself pushing back on? Does it make you angry? Does it trigger you? Do you feel like you have to justify yourself? Do you feel like you have to explain yourself or prove yourself? Those are all forms of resistance. Anytime you feel like you're pushing against something in any way, you are in resistance to something. And sometimes it could just be like, say, for example, you meet up with a group of friends and you're feeling like you have to continually assert yourself to be heard in the conversation. That is resistance. You're pushing. So what are you trying to push away? The feeling of not being heard? Is it the feeling of not being included or valued? Or do you believe that they won't listen to you? Right? That's just an example of how subtle it can be. Anywhere that you feel anything other than like relaxed and in flow, look for the resistance and spend time with that resistance to try to get to the bottom of it. And the way that I do that is when I find a feeling coming up, I try to settle myself. I get into a quiet space and I put myself back in that environment and I go back I notice the resistance and I just sit with it. And if I just sit with it, it begins to open like a flower. And I will find underneath the resistance, there will be something. There will be an emotion or a belief, something that kind of percolates to the surface. And I will say, well, I guess in that moment, let's just use the example of like, if we're going to say that example of being with a group of friends. And you might say, well, in that moment, I was feeling vulnerable because I just told everybody, I channel angels. Wow, that's a good example. So maybe I was feeling like I had to justify myself because I just said something that made me feel vulnerable. So, okay, so go a little deeper. Right? So then if I sit with that vulnerability and I say, what did that feel like? What did I believe about that moment or believe about myself that I felt like what did I think was going to happen? Did I think they were going to judge me? Okay, maybe I thought they were going to judge me. What does that tell me? That tells me I'm judging myself. Have I really accepted this about myself? What do I truly feel about the experience that I'm having? Do I think that this is something why do I think others will judge this? And what about me is in judgment of it? Maybe that's one avenue. Or it could also be the fear of being persecuted, right? Not trusting humanity to hold space for you or to allow you to be who you are. And I know as I say that, some people will say, well, okay, yeah, there's lots of persecution in the world. And in some places in the world, you would be, penalized for the kind of work that I do or beliefs that I hold. But I also know that we each create our own reality. And reality is a mirror to what we believe inside of us. So step one, despite what's going on in your outer world, step one is the inner world. That we start there and that then transforms our outer world. And that each of us can have an experience that matches our inner world. So, okay. So that's an example of what do we do? How do we work with this? Well, how do we apply this in our daily life is look for the resistance go out today and set your goal for today to find something that you are resistant to. There will be something, I promise you. There will be something you're resisting. And when it comes up, then meditate later and spend time with it and try to understand what is underneath it. What are you truly in resistance to? What is the belief? What is the emotion, the fear? Try to get underneath it and spend time with it. And once you bring it to your conscious awareness, that can sometimes be, in some cases, that is enough to clear it, is just bringing it to your awareness. All right. So, and they say, okay, so just to repeat that, we say that to reduce the friction of this exchange of purpose, no longer consider the self as one of two halves separated by a boundary of resistance against what you perceive to be your darkest hour. Instead, resolve upon all parts of you as necessary and integrated, and understand that the experience you have been having has been one of purpose, and that all parts have been needed, and you have grown from the soil that was fit for purpose. So beautiful here. Beautiful way of saying is that soil will grow anything. You could plant weeds or you could plant flowers, and the soil is fit for any purpose. So they're saying it's us. We are the energy that we have is just energy, and it's divine energy, and we have been gifted the ability to create based on whatever we feel, right? Which is amazing, by whatever we are. They go on to say, but the soil is neutral and may grow from within you, the new consciousness that feels no need for such barriers, that has the understanding of what is within you, and which shall define itself in the new reality as what is humanity in the fullest construct of self-knowledge as a creative being. So this is a small paragraph, but it says beautiful things about our future, about what the new reality is going to be, which I think is so, so exciting. That we are moving out of this construct that we've been living in, which is the karmic school of self-understanding, where we meet and understand ourselves by bumping into ourselves in our outer world, right? And living through the judgments we've made against ourselves. And we move into this new world where we no longer have karma, where we are meant to work fluidly with our light and our shadow, which is soil, not darkness, in order to create from that pool of divinity whatever it is that is for the highest and best of the earth and all of humanity. And we play to understand ourselves, to best understand how we as an individual can fulfill those needs. So that is the new learning that we'll be doing in the new reality. It'll be about self-understanding as a creator and as part of a whole, as part of a unified consciousness, right? And learning about ourselves through that process, about how do we discover our own magnificence? What sets us apart from all the other souls? And we play with that in order to understand how to bring something new into reality that is of service to everyone, right? So and then extend ourselves into that reality. So it's so exciting to think about, you guys. To me, I just think it's an amazing, amazing thought. Next paragraph. Thus, we encourage you to lay down your thoughts of self, where darkness or shadow must be expunged, revealed for expellation. So to expunge something is to obliterate or destroy, right? That we have to destroy the darkness. We say to have the understanding that all parts of your soul and self, all parts of what is physical, is made up of all parts of you. And you are without boundaries in the new reality. You have not the division within you between what is health and what is wellness, what is light and what is dark. So they use that really lovely physical expression. Like we think of there being this, you're either well or you're healthy. And they're like, no, even illness is an expression. It's just energy, right? It's creating something from inside of you, and it's a reflection. It's that we don't have a division within us. Yeah. Next paragraph. You have a sense of your soul as one in fluidity, who uses the full seasons of its own creative self to structure a reality of blessings, to understand that the winter begets the spring, and you shall grow into a fuller concept of the human as these boundaried thoughts are revealed and released. So, another thing I love about this message is I know there's something in the astrology right now about releasing belief systems. I just remembered that there's something in our astrology that is really favored right now for addressing beliefs and letting go of beliefs. So how perfect that they're bringing this up for us right now and showing us that this is that to notice where are these belief systems dormant or hiding or influencing us in ways that we don't even know. So yeah, this will be a very subtle and interesting one to play with this week, you guys. And like I said, the doorway is that resistance, to notice where we're in resistance and to start working with that and to recognize that when we resist something, it's because we're afraid of it, right? We're afraid that it'll take us over, that it'll be that we'll succumb to the snake in the apple or to the evil angel on our shoulder versus the positive angel, it's fear. So, yeah, super, super cool message. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I wanted to, by the way, I wanted to let you guys know, in case you weren't aware, we are putting the message out as a podcast now as well. So you can find it on YouTube and you can also find it as a podcast. So if you ever can't make it live and if it's easier for you to listen in your car, it's where wherever you find a podcast, that it'll be there. And it's just under my name. It's under Ann Tucker. So it's easy to find. So if you would like to listen as opposed to watch, you can do that more easily now. So, and it's everywhere. And so thank you so much to Wendy and Kira for making that happen. So, you guys, awesome time together today. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day and the rest of your weekend. And I will see you next Friday live. Bye, you guys.